The parking lot of Miller's Auto Auction in Charlotte, North Carolina, smelled like motor oil and cheap coffee. Jake Harmon stood at the edge of the crowd, counting the crumpled bills in his wallet for the third time. $98. He was $2 short, and payday was still a week away. Jake was 34, a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter, Emma, since his wife's death in a car accident 3 years earlier. He worked double shifts at a machine shop just to keep the lights on. But today wasn't about survival. Today was about a promise. "Daddy, is that the one?" Emma tugged at his sleeve, pointing at a rusted-out 1974 Dodge Charger sitting alone at the back of the lot. Its paint was peeling, one headlight was missing, and the tires were flat. Nobody wanted it. It had been sitting unsold for 2 auctions in a row. "That's the one, sweetheart," Jake said, smiling. Emma had seen an old photograph of her grandfather standing beside a car just like it, back when he raced dirt tracks on the weekends before he passed. Emma had been begging Jake for months to find Grandpa's car so they could fix it up together. The auctioneer barely looked up when Jake raised his hand. $98? Going once, going twice, sold, to the gentleman with his daughter. A ripple of laughter passed through the small crowd. Someone in a designer jacket, sipping an iced coffee, stepped forward with her phone already recording. "Oh my God, are you serious? You paid actual money for that heap of scrap," the woman said loudly, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Her name was Vanessa Caldwell, the daughter of a wealthy car dealership owner, and she had come to the auction looking for a birthday present for herself. "I mean, I get that some people can't afford real cars, but this is just sad. You could have saved that money for something useful. Like a haircut, maybe." A few people chuckled awkwardly. Jake's face grew hot, not from embarrassment but from the sting of Emma hearing it. He knelt and covered her ears gently, but it was too late. "It's ours now, Daddy," Emma whispered, gripping his hand. "That's all that matters." Jake nodded, forcing a smile. He didn't respond to Vanessa. He simply signed the paperwork, arranged for a flatbed to haul the Charger back to his rented garage in the small town of Rowanville, about 45 minutes outside the city, and left without another word. Vanessa posted the video that night with the caption, "When you're too broke for a real car, fail purchase, dad fail." It got a few hundred laughs from her followers before it faded into the noise of the internet, as most cruel jokes do. She forgot about it by the next morning. Jake did not forget. He and Emma spent every evening that week in the garage, wrench in hand, pulling apart the old Charger piece by piece. It wasn't just a car to him. It was the last thing connecting Emma to the grandfather she barely remembered, a man named Walter Harmon, who had once been a promising dirt track racer in the 1970s before a mill accident ended his career and, eventually, his life. What Jake didn't know, what nobody at that auction knew, was that this exact Charger, chassis number WH1147, had a history far bigger than a family heirloom. It was the very car Walter Harmon had driven in the 1974 Southern Amateur Circuit, the same season a 17-year-old spectator named Dale Whitfield had watched from the stands, inspired to become a racer himself. That teenager grew up to become one of the most decorated stock car legends in American racing history, with 3 championship titles and a name recognized in every garage from Daytona to Indianapolis. Dale Whitfield had spent the last 2 years searching for that very car. It wasn't about money. It was about honoring the man whose fearless driving on a muddy North Carolina track had changed the direction of his entire life. Dale had tracked ownership records for years, chasing dead ends, estate sales, and junkyards, until his assistant found a grainy auction listing from Miller's Auto Auction with a photo showing a barely visible chassis tag. 5 days after Jake bought the car, a black SUV pulled up outside his modest rented house in Rowanville. Jake, covered in grease and holding a wrench, opened the door to find a tall, silver-haired man standing on his porch, flanked by 2 associates. "Are you Jake Harmon?" the man asked. "Owner of a 1974 Dodge Charger, chassis number WH1147. Jake nodded cautiously. "Yeah, that's me. Is there a problem?" The man extended his hand. "My name is Dale Whitfield. I don't know if that means anything to you, but that car in your garage belonged to a man who changed my life. Walter Harmon was your father." "My grandfather," Jake said, stunned. "How did you know that?" Dale smiled, his eyes glistening slightly. "I've been looking for this car for 2 years. It's not for sale, is it? Because I would like to offer you $5 million for it, And I want you and your daughter to be there when I finally get to say thank you to the memory of the man who taught me what it means to never give up on the track. Dale knelt down slightly to meet Emma's eyes. Sweetheart, your great-grandfather was a legend to people like me. This car isn't scrap metal. It's history. And you and your dad deserve to know that. Word spread fast through Rowanville and then across social media. Local news picked up the story. Single dad's $98 junkyard find turns out to be priceless piece of racing history. Within 2 days, it had 10 million views nationwide. Reporters wanted interviews, and old-timers who remembered Walter Harmon from the dirt tracks came forward to share stories Jake had never heard about his grandfather's fearless driving. Vanessa Caldwell saw the story on her phone while getting her nails done. Her stomach dropped when she recognized the man, the same broke dad she had mocked in her own viral video days earlier. Comments flooded her old post. Isn't this the same guy you made fun of? Guess who's laughing now? She deleted the video within the hour, but screenshots had already spread. Her father's dealership received complaints from customers who said they'd think twice about doing business with someone whose daughter humiliated hardworking people in public. Jake, for his part, didn't gloat. He didn't post an angry response or call Vanessa out by name. When a reporter asked him about the incident at the auction, he simply said, "People are going to judge what they don't understand. I wasn't buying a car that day. I was buying a memory for my daughter. Everything else was just extra." With the $5 million, Jake didn't move to a mansion or buy flashy things. He paid off his mortgage, set up a college fund for Emma, and opened a small community garage in Rowanville where he taught local teenagers, many from single-parent households like his own, to restore old cars. He named it Harmon's Garage. Dale Whitfield became a regular visitor, sharing racing stories with the kids and occasionally bringing other legends who wanted to meet the boy who found Walter Harmon's Charger. Emma visited the museum every year on her birthday, standing before the gleaming red and white Charger, remembering the day her father knelt beside her in that parking lot and told her that some things are worth more than money. And somewhere, in a quiet corner of the internet, Vanessa's old video still existed in a few forgotten screenshots, a permanent reminder that judging a book by its cover, or a car by its paint job, was a lesson she would never forget. Months later, Dale Whitfield invited Jake and Emma to the Motorsports Hall of Fame for the unveiling of the restored Charger. Emma, wearing a small racing jacket Dale had gifted her, walked hand in hand with her father toward the stage, no longer the little girl embarrassed in a parking lot, but standing tall, chin up. When the curtain dropped, revealing the Charger gleaming under the museum lights, the crowd erupted into applause. Dale stepped up to the microphone. 40 years ago, a man I never got to thank showed a scared teenage kid in the stands that fear doesn't get to make your decisions for you, he said. Walter Harmon didn't know my name, but he changed my life anyway, just by refusing to quit. Today, I get to thank his family, who kept his memory alive even when the world said it wasn't worth anything. As the sun set that evening, Jake loaded Emma into their old pickup truck, the same one from the auction 5 months earlier. The $5 million had changed their circumstances, but not who they were. Strangers occasionally recognize them now, always asking the same question. Is it true? Did a $100 car really turn into $5 million? Jake always gave the same answer. It was never about the money. It was a promise to my little girl, and a grandfather I wish she'd gotten to meet. Everything else was just the world catching up to what we already knew. And on Emma's nightstand sat a photograph, Walter Harmon beside his Charger in 1974, next to a new one of Emma in the same pose, decades later, beside the very same car, a family legacy no longer forgotten.